So, number one, what's the single most common nutrition myth you wish people would stop believing?
You can lose 10 pounds in a week.
Number two, is metabolism slowing with age real or is it mostly lifestyle?
It's real.
Number three, one simple habit that can improve energy and weight management for people of any age.
Sleep.
Okay. How important is protein for maintaining muscle and metabolism as we age? Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode on Hormones and Hope. And this is going to be another exciting one because after hearing a couple of solo episodes from me, you are going to get an expert talking about health and also her experience. I'm so excited and delighted to introduce you to Dr. Pam Peeke, and I got to know about her work and her expertise recently in the last few months when I was attending one of the conferences for Endocrine Society National Meeting in San Francisco during the summer of this year, which is 2025. And while I was engaged in a discussion about a medical device which was recently approved for prevention of osteoporosis, I got to learn about Dr. Peake, her immense work in the field of science and research, as well as she being the chief medical officer for this specific company, which is called Osteoboost. Now, Dr. Peake is a board certified physician in internal medicine. What I've learned is that she's also an NIH trained published clinical investigator. So that's National Institutes of Health. She also holds dual masters in public health and policy and is nationally recognized expert in women's health. I'm so delighted to hear a lot from her. And this is another privilege for me to welcome you, Dr. Peake. So thank you for joining our show. And please tell us something fun about you, why a passion for women's health, or anything that will bring about further excitement before we start the Q&A.
Well, the media dubbed me a while back as the doc who walks the talk. And you know what it's like when people pontificate from on high and say, you do this, but you're not doing it yourself. So clearly, one of the things I pride myself on is getting some dirt under my fingernails and getting on out there and having fun exercising with other people, marathon, triathlon, just going out and just doing it. So I think that that is something that all of us, you and me, are really learning now. And that is there's no more pontificating. It's a pontification free zone. And we're out there doing it. We're on the front lines doing it right with you.
Mm-hmm. That is impressive, because when you, like you just said, walking the talk, yeah. And those are individuals who really add on to the inspiration. So thank you for sharing. So, Dr. Peake, we have our lineup as, first few rapid fire questions, which could be a one-liner answer, yes, no, true, false. And then we have a few deep dive questions, following which if you can share anything, any experience regarding your patient or a personal transformation that will leave our guest with more hope and inspiration, we would love to end the episode with that. So, you ready for the rapid fire?
I'm sitting here just waiting.
All right. So, number one, what's the single most common nutrition myth you wish people would stop believing?
You can lose 10 pounds in a week.
Number two, is metabolism slowing with age real or is it mostly lifestyle?
It's real. Let's put it this way, everything slows down as you age, but metabolism is no different.
Okay, thank you. Number three, one simple habit that can improve energy and weight management for people of any age.
Sleep.
Okay. How important is protein for maintaining muscle and metabolism as we age?
It is absolutely critical, and women don't eat enough.
Thank you for sharing that too. Number five, if you could give one tip to young adults to prevent metabolic diseases in the latter half of their life or even at that particular age, what would that be?
Get into a sport.
Number six, your go to daily practice for keeping your body and mind strong.
Meditation.
Number seven, one myth about women, weights, and bone health you wish would disappear.
My bones won't fracture until I'm 80.
Ooh la la. You're hitting hitting right on the mark, because I feel it. I echo those statements. So thank you so much. So Dr. Peek, you are very much into, exercise and muscle building and muscle and bone health, which actually translates into improving our metabolic health. So, you've lived through this experience. You just mentioned about, walking the talk. So tell us about, over time, what have you learned, like key concepts about nutrition, exercise, and even mindset when we combine it, when it's integrated? How does it influence our longevity, especially in women after midlife or after age 40?
It's interesting. When I published my very first book 25 years ago, I've been writing for quite some time, and I came up with sort of an alliteration: mind, mouth, muscle. And my publisher, which is one of the biggest publishers, was Viking. They were arguing with me. No, we never start with the mind. We always start with, some great ways to be able to drop that weight and, get whatever, fit and everything. I said, no, I refuse. It starts with the mind. I'm terribly sorry, but all the research shows that without the appropriate mindset, you're going nowhere fast. So people are not robots. You can't just wind them up and kick them out the door. So you've got to have a mindset that is built upon what? Meaning and purpose. What is the meaning and purpose? I mean, when you get out of bed in the morning, why even get out of bed without meaning and purpose? Well, why are you going to then strap on some sneakers, go outside and maybe hike, walk, go for a run, whatever you're going to do? You need meaning and purpose behind that. You and I, as physicians, oftentimes help provide that meaning and purpose because people don't know what they don't know. So that's one of the most important things. And then really at the end of the day, life is fluid. It's very fluid. So people think, all right, well, I have a recipe for success today. Well, good for you. Because a year from now is probably going to look a little different. Foundationally, it'll always be the same in terms of eating clean, staying physically active, getting great sleep, right? High quality sleep, and at the same time, de-stressing, finding a way to do self-reflection, and those are foundational. But what they look like decade to decade are different. So I'd like everyone out there to wrap their head around the fact that your expectations about finding the way and then sticking with that for 60 years is not gonna work. The foundation is always there. It's a template for living, but how you do it differs. I'll give you an example. As women course through perimenopause, menopause, sleep becomes mission impossible. All right. So when you thought, oh, listen, I got this sleep thing down when you're 25, well, good for you. Yeah, because in 25 years, things are gonna look a little different. So you have to then adjust your expectations and really, just ease into the fact that life is dynamic and fluid all the way till the end.
So well said. And it's so beautiful and such an important fact. So mindset, right? That was the first one, and meaning and purpose, like you just explained. And then comes, you just gave us like the pillars of lifestyle, which are all essential. So when you are meeting people or meeting women, or even, say your patients, right? How do you address mindset? Address meaning, what tips can you give that, okay, here is, three steps or maybe one step that could help you to transform or to change or to implement certain habit, because that's the most challenging aspect even for me, even though practicing endocrinology and of course the lifestyle coaching, but that's the biggest barrier, the mindset.
So I don't offer tips right off the bat. What I love to do is unzip someone's head, jump inside, and then look at the world as they see it. So I asked them, what's important to you? We're going back to that meaning and purpose place. And if they say, well, the most important thing for me is to always be independent and never have to rely upon someone else to get out of a chair and, that kind of thing. Okay. Well, if that's true, then I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there right there with you. And I'm going to say, really? All right, let's see what you do in this chair. I want you to do a sit to stand. Put your hands across your chest so you don't, get any help. I want to see how many of these you can crank out in 30 seconds. Right? And you and I both know the sit to stand test. And so, and then all of a sudden, they're kind of falling all over the place and whatever. I said, really? Mm-hmm. And how are you going to stay independent if you can't crank these babies out? How can you do that? Well, I got some thoughts. All right. So, how about we strengthen your legs? Now, what did I just do? I didn't say now, what I'd like you to do is just do a whole bunch of leg presses and goblet squats with your, kettlebell, blah, blah. It's like, what? No, I'm saying I want you to actually be working on your quads and your hamstrings and your glutes so that you can always be able to get out of that chair and stay independent. Well, now you have them engaged. You know why? Because they own it. I didn't tell them what to do. I'm not talking from on high. What I'm doing is I'm saying, you told me what was important. I went to that place, and now we're going to make the entire program work around that to achieve your goal. That's what I wanna do, right? So for the next person, it may be, I'm finally gonna retire, and I what I'd like to do is play pickleball until I'm blue in the face. But the thing is, man, I'm just so tired and good lord, I get breathless and whatever. Now, of course, I make sure that physiologically, they're fine. Otherwise, they're just absolutely deconditioned. Well, you wanna play pickleball? Not a problem. How much walking are we doing every day? What are we doing for aerobic? What do you like to do? Elliptical? Okay, we can do that too. Hiking? That's good. That'll help build up. You see what I just did? You tell me what's important, then I'll come back at you and I'll weave in the meaning and purpose so that now when you look at, taking that walk, you're saying to yourself, I know why I'm doing this because I'm going to play pickleball. I'm going to crush them out there on the court, but I can't do it if I'm breathless all the time.
Yes. So awareness and knowledge, we both, and it's a partnership that you're not putting any judgment and you're not telling them that do this or don't do this, because that like really brings about a block even for that individual or patient. So, so beautiful. It's actually very insightful also because, we as healthcare professionals or physicians, when we're placed in that other side of the table having this discussion, it's easy or very, very easy to just write, here is a prescription, do this, don't do this, eat this, don't eat that. And then that just goes as a visit instruction back. But there is no real transformation. There is no, turning your eyes and looking back, looking at ourselves, like the self reflection, which you talked about early on. So very, very insightful. And, I feel like all physicians or all of us can become coaches, or we should be coaches. It's not just being a doctor, but also that coaching is so very essential as we learn so much.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I applaud that. All of us, should be trained to be able to do what I just said. I've been a physician for many years, and so I learned through the school of hard knocks. I learned what didn't work. We had some epic fails in there, and then from that, I learned, you know, how to apply the lessons. Everything in life, good, bad, or otherwise, is about lessons. Can you extract the lesson? Sometimes a lesson is a nothing burger. It's like, I didn't really learn that much from that. Or it could be, oh my heavens, that was eye opening. I mean, just, wow. So it's all about, just as you and I, as practitioners, as we interact with people, what we think is important may not be important to the patient. And so, they need to hear it in their language. That's why I unzip their head, I hop inside, I look at the world as they see it, and then I listen intently. I do a lot of listening, and then I get the picture. Now I know where we're going.
Yeah, and you're really connecting with them by unzipping. I love the word unzipping their head in your head. Before I get into our next question, I also had this, as you were speaking, that why are we focusing on muscle, physical activity, and how is that interrelated with, you talked about preventing fractures or the myth that we all think that we'll not break a bone. So, how is it translating the connection between exercise, building muscle, balance to our bone health and preventing fractures and actually towards longevity?
It's a really good question. And so let's sort of connect the dots. All right. So many women think walking alone is just going to do it for the rest of their life. I really don't want to break their heart, and I am just a messenger, so don't hurt me. But what you need is you need to be able to build and then maintain a certain amount of physical of muscle strength and tone to be able to keep yourselves not only independent, you do have to get out of a chair. All right. At the same time, when you exercise your muscles using strength training, you're actually tugging on bones. So, you've got, at your joints, you've got tendons and ligaments. And every single time you tug on that bone, when you lift that weight, however you're doing that, at any point throughout your anatomy, it doesn't have to be your arms, it's your arms, legs, it's your core, it's your glutes, everything. Then what you do is you wake up those cells in there, those osteocytes in your bone, little fancy word, osteocytes. And those are the mature bone building cells. And you wake them up, you go, hey, build some bone already. And the osteoblasts will begin to build bone. And when they do that, at the same time, you have a new balance between the amount of bone that's torn down and the amount of bone that's being built. And so the muscle tends to establish, when you're doing exercise strength training, this really healthy new homeostasis, a new balance, so that you're erring on the side of building bone and certainly at the very least maintaining bone when you do strength training. So that's the connection, literally, between bone and muscle. Want to keep that very clear. So, know everyone out there, walking is not enough. It's not. Now, is it wonderful? Oh, it's fabulous. What's life without walking? I mean, you want to hike, you want to it's so good for your heart. It's so good for your brain. It's so good for longevity in general. That being said, that's good, but we're talking about bones here, and bones need a little extra something, something. And that means you've got to do the strength training. Does this mean you have to spend your entire income at the most expensive gym in town? You could do everything, quite frankly, at home or in a community center for that matter. You could hire a trainer to do a group of you. You can make this very lean and mean. You could use your body weight to be able to do that, or very inexpensive equipment. For instance, elastic bands are fantastic. Tubing, I mean, you could buy for $30 and then you could just use it, follow the instructions, and you could be quite strong. Now, I got something for everybody. My go to exercise that basically helps me multitask because we are women. And so our second career is multitasking because we can't help ourselves. I think it's in the chromosomes. I don't know. But anyway, it's the push up. Now, the push up can be done 28 different ways. Do not freak out. I'm not asking for a full leg push up. If you're capable of doing it, you can get a little padding for your knees and very simple, nice little mat or something. You could do bent knee push ups. Now, why is this so terribly important? It's important because if you were to fall right now and no one was around to help you, how are you getting up? You're waiting for a front end loader? Is that what you just said? No, that front end loader is not showing up to help you. Nope. If you actually just do it, just kind of go down to the floor and then try to get yourself up, what does it look like? A push up, because you have to use your arms and legs in a certain way just to get up, however lovely it looks. And so it's extremely important to be able to save your own life at some point in your life, to be able to get up once you've fallen, to be able to help yourself crawl over to where you need to be and then get up. You've got to have those muscles going. So let's look at the muscles. What are the muscles? Good heavens. They're all over the place. It's your leg muscles, your glutes, it's your back, it's your entire core, which means your abs. At the same time, your arms, every single muscle in your arms, your forearms, your biceps, your triceps. And then, hello, it's your chest. Now, remember, if you're doing it right, you've got that neutral spine. So you got to keep that core basically in place the entire time, nice straight back. Now, let's just say, oh, no, I can't do it on the ground, everything. That's okay. You could do it off the wall. You could actually do it off the wall. Just, put your feet a little further away from the wall and bend into it and just let her rip. Okay, there are lots of ways to be able to tackle this, but that's one of my most favorite things. If you could crunch out 10 of any one of those forms of push up, then you're well on your way to remaining independent and staying strong as you age. I mean, I've got 30-year-olds who can't do this. Okay, so if you think, oh, I got this, really, do you? Drop to the floor. Let me see what you got, because I got a surprise for you. The grand majority cannot do this at all. Not gonna happen. Not now, not ever. So that's why you gotta work it. That becomes fundamental. Any time of day, just drop down to the floor and just, whack out a few. And it just basically allows you to be able to practice. Just keep going at it. Practice, practice, practice. A little here, a little there. Start with just one repetition, but that one repetition just looked wonderful. But maybe you're too tired to do the second one. That's fine. Come back to it some other time. But that one repetition means everything, because you need excellent form in strength training to decrease the incidence of injury. So it's all about form. Don't rush through anything and don't assume anything.
I'm going this way, just applauding Dr. Peak. I don't have any other words. Yes, we've had, a few guests who've talked about muscle movement and they themselves are very fit and fine. But the way you explain push-ups, the science behind it, the need, like why is this specific one so pivotal in our health and our journey? And just an amazing explanation that when you fall, what do you need? Like what kind of strength are you seeking for and you're still independent? So no further words, and thank you so much for explaining push-ups in it's a very unique and very meaningful way. So you explain the connection, muscles, bones, fractures, and what can we do now? So even young adults who are listening, this is the time. You don't have to wait. This is not a talk just for someone who's going through midlife. But now is the time to build that. And you also heard from Dr. Peak about getting into a sport because that's what's going to be boost up your dopamine levels and inspire you to take that step every day. So moving on to some innovation in science, Dr. Peak, you represent Osteoboost, and I really wanted to learn and understand about this medical device. I personally have it, and this was just out of interest in bone health for osteopenia, osteoporosis for me as well. But this has been specifically designed for women with osteopenia. And the other reason I knew about this was because a study was conducted at University of Nebraska Medical Center, where I actually graduated for, after my fellowship, which was in endocrinology. So can you explain how it works, the science behind it, and what kind of women would benefit from it?
Okay. So, how many of you remember the astronauts going up into space? All right. So, it's always making headlines. And then there was an a moment years back when the astronauts went up and then they came back down and their bone mineral density was literally melting away. And that's when NASA, sat down and said, Rotro, what are we going to do with these people? And how did that happen? No gravity. And so that's a problem up there because, there's no gravity. And so there's no pull on the bones. And so there's no stomping, there's none of that level of activity that's going to be able to maintain optimal bone health. So what they discovered, they actually farmed this out to a university, and they discovered that if you apply vibration to the body, now, why vibration? What's that about? Physical activity. When you take a walk, when you get up right now from your chair and you start walking, you could just walk at a regular pace. You don't have to be stomping or something. You actually vibrate. There's a vibration that goes throughout your entire body. Any runner will tell you that, because there you really get a good stomp. You kind of, whoa, but you actually vibrate. And that vibration is critical for stimulating the bone building cells throughout the body, these osteoblasts that I was talking about before. So it's exceptionally important to remember that vibration is a huge piece of what physical activity does. So these smart people over at NASA said, okay, we're going to apply vibration to these happy campers while they're up in the space station. Um, and by doing so, we're going to be able to mitigate the bone loss. And they have they done it 100%? Of course not, because being in space is like a really strange thing. But they were able to help mitigate it. So that's the first thing, right? The second piece of this is we took that science, Osteoboost, and anyone who wants to read about this, just go to Osteoboost, that's OsteoBoost.com. Osteo means bone, boost means, well, boosting the bone. So what we're able to do is say, well, obviously we're not in a space station. What we'd like to be able to do, knowing women especially, but this is also good for men because men have problems with low bone density as well for a lot of reasons. So we said, could we come up with a device that's small, compact, easy to wear, and, going back to the multitasking, something that a woman could wear while she's doing her activities of daily living, walking around, doing stuff throughout the house, the work, at her job, in her office, out walking her dog, hiking, doing whatever she wants. Okay. So the device is worn that way. It's actually looks like a belt, almost looks like a fanny pack. It's it's smaller than that. And then the main device is worn over the sacrum in the back, and then you tie it in the front. So in the back, what's up with the sacrum? Now, the sacrum is that bone that's right above the crack, your little buttock crack. So your behind crack. So you know where that bone is, you can actually feel it. So you want it right there. Why? Because the vibration then spreads to the hips and to the lumbar spine. When we get a DEXA scan, what do we see? It's the hips and the lumbar spine. So we want to be able to show changes there because these are two places that are very vulnerable for fracture and compression and other issues when it comes to the spine. So that's how this works in a nutshell. You're literally getting with 30 minutes a day, that's all that's required. The device actually shuts off after 30 minutes. And so 30 minutes of that vibration is equal to literally an exercise session because it's duplicating what exercise will do. Now, obviously, you're going to do your regular exercise too. You know what I do is I strap that Osteoboost on me, and then I have my own home gym. And then what happens is I'm able to hop up on my elliptical and I do my elliptical. I'm multitasking. I do my elliptical at the same time I'm doing 30 minutes of my Osteoboost, and I literally have it dangling off my elliptical to always remind me to wear it. So you see, it's very, very simple. It's elegant. It's a class 2 FDA cleared medical device. And so, we went through a very, very rigorous FDA review that took 12 months because there is no predicate for it. So we took a special pathway for devices that don't have any predicate. And oh boy, did we have fun. But the orthopedic panel at the FDA cleared us, and we are one of only 16 devices ever cleared by the orthopedic panel like this.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I have been using it, and that's like looking at my bone density pre. So I'm 45, and I have lower Z scores, and then we're planning to get my bone density in the future once I'm, covering that period of time. Also, for audience or listeners, to remind that this is through prescription. So definitely talk to your physicians, endocrinologists who are well aware of this medical device if that would be best suited for you after your assessment. I've had lots of interest from my patients. And right now, I think it's also the prescription is easier, but now they're juggling between the cost of the device versus its efficacy, and those are the discussions like in our exam room when we are dealing.
Well, we got approved a year and a half ago, and as you're well aware, and so am I, it takes forever and a day to get the insurance reimbursement paperwork done. So we're wading through it as we speak, and that means for Medicare as well as for private insurers. But we had so many people who said, I don't want to wait because right now I'm circling the drain and my T scores are starting to knock on osteoporosis. And quite frankly, even if you were already osteoporotic, it's the same mechanism of action. So physicians, are assessing their patients individually and finding out and saying, do you really need a prescription for, this device? Do you need this device if you already have osteoporosis? Same mechanism of action. So I would say about 50% of the people who purchase the device have osteopenia, and the other 50% have osteoporosis. Now, if you don't have a physician or it's difficult to get to one, you know how that goes. We also have, if you go to osteoboost.com and where it says to order and the rest of it, we actually have a telehealth platform, and we have physicians there who will go ahead and review once you've submitted and give you approval, and then off you go. So it's fairly straightforward. So either you have your own physician, you're lucky enough to have someone like you, or if you don't, because a lot of people don't. And, it's shocking. It really is. It's like, and, trying to get an appointment that's not 4 months from now is really, tough. So, the other thing too is patients need to educate their own providers about this. Because providers, I mean, you and I never got any of this in medical school. I didn't know anything about vibration science, only to find out there's a huge, wealth of science on this out there. So, I learned a lot, and so many providers, internal medicine, family practice, rheumatology, endocrinology, orthopedics, they're all coming to us now, these providers saying, "My patients are talking about this all the time. So what's going on? Educate me so I don't feel like I'm the most clueless person in the room." And we're doing that. We just did a huge webinar with Osteoboost. You could see this on the website with a Dr. Jocelyn Wittstein, who is an orthopedic surgeon at Duke University. She has a really cool Instagram following. Speaking of the doc who walks the talk, she was a gymnast in college. And so you could see her hanging upside down and doing crazy things. And she's got a big following. And so she reached out to us and she said, "You need to teach me about OsteoBoost because I have so many people on Instagram asking about it and I need to be educated, at the higher level, at the provider level." So we educated her. She was in love with it. And then we went ahead and did a full on webinar because she wrote a book that just came out called The Complete Guide to Bones and Joints. And, if it's written by an orthopedic surgeon, I'll listen to it. And then there are beautiful pictures of her and her co author, both of whom are gymnasts, former gymnasts, doing all the exercises. How cool is that?
Thank you, Dr. Peek. That was so insightful. We learned about the mindset, the muscle movement, as well as what we are feeding ourselves and how do we look at ourselves in terms of health, and a new medical device called Osteoboost. To the listeners and viewers, this is a medical device. So you could definitely talk to your physicians or your treating providers to learn more about the device. But what was shared today was a full disclosure that it's only educational and not a specific personal medical device. If you are enjoying our episodes, don't forget to like or share, review, and even share it with any of your loved ones, friends who can benefit more from this podcast, which is bridging both science and wellness. Until our next episode, this is Dr. Makija signing off.